The British Labour government is in disarray after the Deputy Prime Minister resigned over a tax scandal. Angela Rayner failed to pay the correct amount of property tax on an apartment she bought earlier this year. She was also the Housing Minister. It has prompted a cabinet reshuffle and another headache for the UK's increasingly unpopular centre-left Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. David Lammy, who had been serving as the UK's Foreign Minister, will serve as Rayner's replacement. It's a different tale for the right-wing populist party Reform UK, though. Nigel Farage's party surging in the polls on an anti-immigration platform. At a conference today, he was seeking to put the boot into the country's two main parties.
We are the patriotic party. We are the party that stands up for decent working people, and we are the party on the rise.
More now from Nick Robertson on how Angela Rayner's resignation has shocked the government here.
The words that Keir Starmer wrote in his three-page handwritten note to Angela Rayner after she handed in her resignation kind of speak to that. A trusted colleague, a true friend, somebody who really showed the social mobility in the country. This is a very significant political figure who's been close to his side since he's been Prime Minister, a significant player in his government, the Deputy Prime Minister, somebody that he's relied on to sort of keep, if you will, the support of the left wing of the party as they sort of try to hew it along a more centrist course. But the language that is used there pays testament to somebody who's won admiration, particularly from the working classes in the UK. She's talked about her own career and trajectory, leaving school at 16, pregnant without qualifications, becoming a grandmother when she was 37, and when she became an MP 10 years ago, talking about she wished all those people that said to her back then, "You will never amount to anything," she wished they could see her now. So, when the Prime Minister talks about her in the terms of the embodiment of social mobility, he's really talking about somebody who sort of expresses and lives the core values of the Labour Party, and that's one of the reasons why this loss will be big for him. I remember meeting with her out on the election campaign trail a few years ago. She was a powerful figure, a strong voice within the Labour Party. So this is a loss for the Prime Minister, but he's already moving beyond it. Of course, politicians will. He's already appointed a new Deputy Prime Minister, taken the Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, made him the Deputy Prime Minister, shifted the Home Secretary into the Foreign Secretary's position, shifted the Justice Secretary into the Home Secretary's position. So significant reshuffle going on for the Prime Minister. More significantly, as you say, he's not doing well in the polls. The leader of the opposition, in fact, commented on Angela Rayner's resignation and said, essentially, he didn't fire her. He should have fired her. She had referred herself to the Ministerial Ethics Committee just a couple of days ago, and they decided that she hadn't heeded the warnings that she was given in deliberating the tax consequences of this house purchase that she made. And that was the reason, that was the context for her resignation. But there are those who will criticise the Prime Minister now outside of the Labour Party for not firing her. That will be something that he will find himself facing political heat from the opposition on.
So what we want to know is, can the current Prime Minister turn the tide? Joining me now, Freddie Gray, Deputy Editor for The Spectator. Thanks for joining us, Freddie. I mean, in this country, it is traditionally a two-party system, isn't it? And it does feel as if those two main parties are crumbling right now.
Well, quite. I mean, we've come out of over a decade of a Conservative government that became internationally famous for just going from crisis to crisis, failure to failure. There was all the mess over Brexit. There was Boris Johnson's premiership. Then there was Rishi Sunak's premiership. We had endless disasters from a Conservative government, and Labour came in promising stability and at least securonomics was their economic phrase. And some people believed it, but in fact, we've just had more chaos at the top, and that's what's happened this week. One of the big ironies for me this week is that on Monday, Keir Starmer announced that phase 2 of his government was starting. which led everyone to say, well, hang on a second, what was phase one? Because it just seemed to be error on error. And phase two, it seems to be, is carnage. And I think you're seeing a little bit of crocodile tears from Labour today, because there was a lot of backstabbing, there was a lot of briefing going on against Angela Rayner from Labour people. They are like rats in a sack at the moment, trying to kill each other. And I think is to do the reshuffle he wanted to do.
It's going to be interesting, isn't it, for Donald Trump when he comes over, because his, he's watching he's being hosted by a prime minister who's, lost a lot of authority. At the same time, his great mate Nigel Farage is, he's holding his conference this week, isn't it? It's a pretty spectacular show, and they are riding high in their confidence, but also actually in the polls. Not that that means they'll get into government, but they're probably doing better than any other party right now.
Well, I think they have a very seriously good chance of getting into government at the next general election. And Nigel Farage said today he thinks that general election is going to be sooner rather than later, 2027, he thinks, because Labour seem to be ploughing this country into a ditch. And so, yes, they have a seriously good chance. And Farage has had an extraordinary week. He went to Washington to see Donald Trump, among other things, and urged Donald Trump to take seriously his concerns and reforms concerns about free speech in Britain. And then he's come home to this conference, which is now, with the Tories and with Labour struggling so much, Reform are the coming party, a lot of energy, a lot of momentum with them. It feels like it's all being teed up for Trump to do something spectacularly anti-government, anti-Labour government, I should say.
I know. Well, that's it, isn't it? What do you think he might do?
Well, I think Reform are hoping that he will make some grandiose statement about free speech in Britain. The problem for them is that so far they've urged him to do it before, and he's just shrugged it off. J.D. Vance is much more concerned on a sort of more practical level about free speech in Britain, the vice president. But Donald Trump, Keir Starmer has twice in front of him said, "Oh, we have a strong tradition of free speech in our country, and we will continue it." And Trump has just shrugged and said, "Okay." So it'll be interesting to see if he does that. It's worth remembering that in 2018, when he came to Britain, he started off the trip by giving an interview to The Sun, where he said lots of outrageous things, or very undiplomatic things about the British government, about how they were making a mess of Brexit, about how immigration had ruined Britain. And this completely sort of derailed this, what should be a sort of very civil state visit. And I wonder if we might be about to see history repeating itself.
Yeah, I'm just wondered, when you compare what's happening in the UK to other European countries like France, the debate, at the centre of all of these debates tends to be the cost of living crisis and how the right appears to have come up with a better answer to that. But there is a tradition of the left dealing with that issue, but they seem so disorganised in France. They seem almost unpresent in the UK. What's going on with the left? Why don't we talk about the far left anymore?
Well, the far left do have energy. You see that in France, you see that in Britain, you see that in America, but they don't have parties that can really win power. And Macron and Starmer are very similar figures in various ways. They're both technocrats by instinct. They're both socialist in their core, but public-facing, more centrist. And they're both deeply unpopular and seemingly paralysed in government, unable to deliver their agenda because their parties, the domestic politics has not supported them.
It's interesting. Freddie, thanks for coming back onto the show, giving us your analysis.